Hey everybody, this is Unit 5 Formative 1 Video 2 on factoring. Okay, so we are going to be factoring this trinomial. So what we're essentially going to be doing is getting it to two sets of parentheses. So remember how in the past, or on the last formative, we had something like 2x plus 3 times x minus 4. And we distributed that all together to get 2x squared minus 8x plus 3x and then minus 12. And then we combined our like terms to get 2x squared minus 5x minus 12. So that was our final answer on the last formative. Well, now we're actually going to go backwards. So we're going to start with the trinomial and we're going to work back to get the two binomials. So we're going backwards now, back to this. Okay, well, to do that, it's a little bit tricky, but I'm going to teach you guys a method that will work for almost every problem. So you're going to think about the number that's out in front of the x squared. So we're going to say that that's a 1. That's the a term. So a is always the term that's in front of the x squared. B is the term that's before the x, and c is just your constant. That'll be nice to know when we get to the next formative. But anyway, so we're going to take a times c, so 1 times negative 15, and we get negative 15. And I'm just going to make a little chart over on the side here. And now I'm going to start listing all the factors of negative 15. So in other words, all the things that multiply together to give me negative 15. Well, the obvious one is 1 and negative 15, or we have negative 1 and positive 15. Okay? Other factors could be 3 and negative 5, or negative 3 and positive 5. All right, so now we want to figure out, those are all my factors for negative 15. So again, I got that negative 15 because I took 1 times the negative 15. I took a times c. Okay, I took the a term times the c term. A times c is right here. Okay, so that gives me negative 15. All my factors are listed there. And now let's start adding them up. So 1 and negative 15 gives me negative 14. Negative 1 and 15 gives me positive 14. 3 and negative 5 gives you negative 2. And negative 3 and 5 gives you positive 2. We want the one that adds up to the middle term. So a positive 2. Well, that's be negative 3 and 5. Well, what gets me x squared? How did I get... If I look down here, 2x times x got me 2x squared. Well, what's going to get me an x squared here? Well, if I take x times x, that'll get me x squared. Okay? Now I need to fill in the other two numbers. So I need a negative 3 and a 5 here. So we're going to say minus 3 and then plus 5. Okay, and if you were to distribute that back out, you should get x squared plus 2x minus 15. And there is your answer, and you factored that one. All right, let's do another. Okay, so we have x squared minus 2x minus 35. Let's put a 1 in front of the x squared. Okay, and we're going to take a times c. Oops. We're going to take a times c, which it means that we're going to take 1 times negative 35, which means we get negative 35. And we're going to find the factors of negative 35. So that gives me 35 and negative 1. We can have negative 35 and positive 1. We can have 7 and negative 5. We can have negative 7 and positive 5. And those are all your factors of negative 35. We want the one that's going to add up to the middle term here. So we want the one that's going to be a negative 2. Okay, middle term. We want the one that's going to be the b. Okay, so negative 2. So we start figuring out what all these equal. This one equals 34, negative 34, 2, and negative 2. So the last one here is what we're going to use. We're going to use the negative 7 and 5. All right, so we're going to split up our parentheses. All right, and what will get me x squared? Well, I know x times x again is going to get me x squared. So the x times the x right here and here, when I distribute x times x, will give me this term right here. The other two terms are just filled in, or the other parts of the parentheses are just filled in with what we came up with right here. So we have minus 7 and plus 5. And there's your answer. And if you distribute it back out, you'll get x squared minus 2x minus 35. All right, here we have one with something different other than in a 1 in front of the x squared, but it's still going to go the same process. So we're going to take a times c, so we're going to take 3 times negative 18, and when we do that, we get a negative 54. So again, I took 3 times negative 18 because I took a times c. All right, factors of negative 54. We know we want to add them up to be negative 25. Well, we know we have 9 times 6, so negative 9 and positive 6, or 9 and negative 6. 54 divides by 2, so we could have 27 and negative 2, or we could have negative 27 and positive 2. And at this point, if you see that you have some that are going to add to negative 25, you can stop. So in other words, this one equals negative 3, this one equals positive 3, this one equals 25, and this one is going to equal negative 25. Okay, so my last factors here, negative 27 and 2, equal my middle term of negative 25. Okay, so now I'm going to set up my two parentheses. And this time, I'm going to put a 3x in both parentheses here. So anytime there's anything other than a 1 in front of the x, you're going to put whatever term is here in the front of both parentheses. And then you're going to do the second part the same way. So minus 27 and then plus 2. Okay, now we're going to look at our parentheses and we're going to factor a greatest common factor out of each separate parentheses. So in other words, is there a greatest common factor between 3x and 27? Yeah, there's a 3. So I'm going to pull a 3 out. I'm going to divide this whole thing here by 3. Okay, so that gives me x minus 9. Okay, so I took 3x divided by 3 to get x, and I took 27 divided by 9 to get 9, or 3 to get 9. The second parentheses, 3x plus 2, does not divide by anything, so we just leave it the way it is, and we write 3x plus 2, and there's your answer. All right, last problem here. So we're going to take, again, 2 times negative 7, because we took a times c. We're going to get negative 14, and we're going to start listing factors of negative 14. So we have negative 14 and 1, we have 14 and negative 1, we have 7 and negative 2, and we have negative 7 and positive 2. The first one adds to negative 13, and we can actually stop there because we know we want it to equal negative 13. So we're actually going to use our very first two numbers that we found. List your parentheses. Okay, and again, since this number right here is not a 1, okay, I'm going to put 2x in both parentheses. Get rid of the squared, but you're going to put the 2x in both parentheses as the first term. Okay. Now we fill in the two numbers that we came up with over here. So minus 14 and then positive 1. All right, now we look for any greatest common factors. So is there a greatest common factor between 2x and 14? Yes, we can pull out a 2, so we're going to divide this whole thing by 2. That leaves me with x minus 7. And the second parentheses does not divide by anything but 1, so we just leave it as 2x plus 1. And there is your answer. All right, that was your first day of factoring. Make sure you rewatch the video if you need to, but we will see you tomorrow.